Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, brought to you by the great folks over at Zephyr Epic. You can use promo code Hockey Season, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That will get you $5 off your order at ZephyrEpic.com. That is ZEPHYR Epic. Check them out on all platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all the social medias. Zephyr Epic has got you covered for all of your trading card needs. So be sure to go check them out, whether you're into sports cards, Pokemon cards. I know those are super hot right now. Go check those out. I actually saw some Pokemon cards at Costco today, and maybe we'll talk about the Costco trip a little bit there, but we've got a lot to get to. So be sure to check out Zephyr Epic. Free shipping Canada-wide on any order over $50. My name's Dave Quadrelli. I'm joined as always by the man who built the place, Chris Faber. Our technical producer, as always, is Alex Allard. And we are here, big show today, Chris, brought to you by our friends at Zephyr Epic. Elias Pettersson is going to join us in this show. Not the Elias Pettersson you were thinking of, folks. The Elias Pettersson who signed yesterday a 3-year entry-level contract with the Vancouver Canucks. The defenseman will join us in about 10 to 15 minutes time. But first, as I said, my name's Dave Quadrelli, joined as always by the man who built the place, doing his best impression of a WestJet pilot, Chris Faber. Chris, how's it going today?
Good. You hit about 8 eagles on the way in here, by the way. But yeah, what do you mean this is the Pettersson? This is the guy who's in the news. Elias Pettersson, he's in the news. Just signed his contract yesterday. He's on the show today. I don't know what you're talking about with this, D-Petey hate over there.
There's no hate. There's no hate coming from me. Come on. There's no hate coming here. I got my Oakland A's hat on. Soon to be the Las Vegas Athletics. I have my Vegas A's hat on. And shout out Lachlan Irvin. Lachlan went to California, and he brought back hats for both you and I about a year ago, right? And this beauty hat here, I think you got a San Francisco Giants. I picked up the beautiful little bright yellow hat. Decided I was wearing it about 5 minutes before the show started, which is why I'm wearing a red shirt with it. But yeah, supporting the A's when they're about to move to Vegas.
Hey, here's the thing about a ball cap. You can't find a better ball cap than one from the actual stadium. It's the best place to get a ball cap. I got mine. I wish I knew that we were wearing these. I would have thrown it on there. They're probably only like $6 when you're at the arena too, or the stadium. They're cheaper there. That's where you got to get them. But yeah, Pettersson's going to join us here at 1:15, so about 10 minutes time. So we're excited for that.
Yeah,
good chat with him. He had a good year.
He did, absolutely. And we're going to talk Abbotsford playoffs. We both watched the playoff game, so it's not just going to be you talking Abbotsford. But quickly, I want to get this in. We had some breaking news about 20 minutes before the show started. And Chris, I did a little bit of reporting. I did that reporting thing. So somewhat breaking news. Vancouver Canucks announced they have parted ways with power play assistant coach on Rick Tocchet's bench, Jason King. Before I speak more about this, Jason King lasted through Travis Green's tenure and Bruce Boudreau. He went through 2 firings, 3 different head coaches Jason King had when he was an assistant coach with the Canucks. He's the only guy to last that long with the team through these firings of the coaching staff. So general manager Patrick Allvin making the announcement today that the club has parted ways with Jason King. Jason King will not be returning to the team for the 2023-24 season. I reached out, was told by a Canucks spokesperson, that there would be no replacement coming for Jason King. No clue what the roles are just yet. Who's going to take over the power play duties? We don't know just yet. But there was obviously that report yesterday out of Russia that Mike Yeo was leaving the Canucks staff, and that, I'm going to get this right, Ilya Vorobyov would be hired in his place. That was what the Russian site said. They noted that he crossed paths with Andrei Kuzmenko and Vasily Podkolzin when they were in SKA in St. Petersburg, but it does not sound like that's going to be the case. Sounds like it's just going to be the current staff with Mike Yeo, Adam Foote, and Sergei Gonchar.
Yeah, good relationship with Gonchar out there as well. He coached him. Another name there, not the tail end of Gonchar's career, but yeah, I'm not surprised very much to see Jason King on the outside looking in. Hey, he made it pretty far. As you mentioned, 3 head coaches went through, and he was able to at least get time with each of them. So too bad. I think Jason King's a guy that I see all the time around town here, around this area, walking around. I know he really likes Vancouver, but we'll have to see what happens if he's going to coach in the NCAA or what he's going to do here moving forward. So we'll see. I think he's done good for him for hanging on this long in the NHL.
That was pretty random. Why did you throw that out? Was that a little dolly wall throw out? What makes you bring up the NCAA? I feel like Don Taylor right now. Why did you bring up the NCAA?
Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. But hey, come back to this video in 2 months. 2 months, come back to this video and you'll see. That's all I'll say. Hey, you know who I completely unrelated? Took the elevator down with Rick Tocchet last night as well. Had an elevator ride with Rick. Had a good chat, really good chat. He was very nice. Away from the rink, get away from some hockey stuff. He actually kind of like asked how I got into doing my job and what makes you like it and stuff. It was a good little chat in the conversation there. And then he was off. Jim Rutherford was there. Francesco Aquilini were there outside. Everybody's outside. I live at Rogers Arena. They're all around here. And we saw him yesterday. Saw Aquilini and Rutherford carpool out there last night. Tocchet, not in the same car. Read into that what you want.
I don't think Rick Tocchet's a backseat guy. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that's the beginning and end of that conversation is Rick Tocchet doesn't sit in a backseat.
Okay, fair enough. Anyways, had a really good chat with him. And it was nice for the Abbotsford Canucks out there to see. I had to carpool with Drance. I'll tell you what, Drance got a nice little car. I'll say that. Nice car. Real smooth ride. Won't get into the ride, though. Let's talk about the Abbotsford Canucks playoff game. And by the way, I got to get this out of the way off the top. Yes, I'm drinking a root beer float, okay? I just want to get it out of the way. I'm drinking a root beer float. I got no energy drinks in the house. This is a natural energy drink, root beer float. Let's get to the Abbotsford game. I think the biggest shocker of the Abbotsford Canucks wasn't the 3-0 victory, which they ended up getting last night in their first AHL playoff game out there. To me, it was actually the goaltender who ends up pitching a shutout was not Archer Seelovs. It was Spencer Martin who got the start. He made 21 saves. The Abbotsford Canucks won 3-0. Not like Martin was extremely... he didn't have to deal with a lot against him. There weren't a ton of consistent scoring chances coming back his way, but he was good when he had to be, and he ends up getting the shutout for them. Made Jeremy Colleton's decision look really good with Spencer Martin picking up the 3-0 win and backstopping the Abbotsford Canucks to that way. They went with the veteran. They didn't go with the young guy. They had the option to go with both. Both guys had a serious option. I thought it was going to be Seelovs the way the deployment happened last week and heading into the playoffs. This guy was named their MVP on Saturday. He was named their MVP, and he wasn't in for game one. So that was the biggest shocker to me. But listen, Colleton played his cards right. They end up getting a 3-0 win and a shutout for Martin. I wrote it in the article when I wrote about the things you should know about this Abbotsford series. Turns out it was not an arty party, unfortunately, as much as we love a good arty party. It was actually a Marty party. What'd you think? I know you watched this game too, Quads. Good performance, but start with the goaltending there from Spencer Martin.
And this is going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think I want to start with the goaltending because I think as soon as you do, it moves to what a defensive performance from the team in front of him, right? Bakersfield obviously only gets off 21 shots last night. Do you think, and I know natural stat trick's not really available for AHL games, but if you were keeping a tab of the amount of high danger chances that Martin faced in that game, you have to think it's pretty low, right? And I mean, it goes without saying that obviously it wasn't as big of a test as playing at the NHL level, but the team defense that was being played in front of Spencer Martin last night and day between what he was getting in Vancouver, right? And look, obviously I'm upfront about it. I didn't watch every Abbotsford game this year like you did, but I didn't realize they played team defense the way they did. And I heard a lot about Jeremy Colleton's got them playing really well. He's got guys like Klimovich playing a 200-foot game. I was just watching that game and I was stunned at the defensive structure that we were seeing still. AHL level, I understand AHL hockey. It was definitely a little bit broken play after broken play in the first period for sure. But the team defense the first period was awful. But the team defense that Abbotsford played with in front of Spencer Martin, I think someone in the chat even said, yeah, Canucks need right-handed defensemen in the YouTube live chat said, it didn't matter who was in net. That defense is legit. And hey, I don't know if they're talking about the defensive pairings themselves, but look at Jet Wu. Jet Wu, all of a sudden, going from somebody that maybe wasn't going to get a qualifying offer this summer to now being a legitimate option as a depth option, right? You have to think that Jet Wu is putting himself in the conversation to be in the call-up conversation with those guys like Christian Wallin and like Noah Juleson, being those depth options for the team, right? You have to think that Jet Wu's at least put himself in that conversation and that at the very least, he's going to get a qualifying offer from the Vancouver Canucks this offseason. So I'm not going to keep rambling on. Well, there's a lot to get to with that game, but to answer your question, yes, I thought the goaltending was great. I was just very surprised by the team defense in front of him. You like to see for Martin, and I'll get a little technical with the goaltending stuff here. You like to see him going back to basics kind of, and he's not really changed anything from when he was at the NHL level and he was struggling, because I know a lot of people are going to be wondering about that, right? Is, well, he sucked at the NHL level toward the end, 10 straight losses, blah, blah, blah. Save percentage never above 900 in any of those last 10 starts. He must have made huge changes to his game. And all it came down to was, no, he just needed to get his confidence back. And that's why they sent him down. I've said it so many times on this show before, so apologies to people who are regular listeners. But Spencer Martin, they weren't giving up on Spencer Martin when they sent him down. They were sending him down so that he could rebuild his confidence and, rebuild his game. And all that took was him just getting back to basics and doing, the things that he's done in the past that have made him successful since coming to the Canucks organization and working with Ian Clark. And you saw the movement. You saw a lot of different things from Spencer Martin that you really liked last night, especially the defense in front of him.
Yeah, and listen, the AHL is a developmental league, and they decided to go with the veteran in Spencer Martin above the young guy in Artur Silovs. But here's the thing that you have to look at. For development, if you're developing a backup for next season, listen, we love Artur Silovs. I think he's a very good prospect. But if you're talking about a backup at the NHL level, there's still development that you can have in Spencer Martin's game. And I think that's the way that they're probably looking at this playoff run. Is he played really well in the AHL. I think once he got his confidence back and kind of got mentally just settled in nice and can go back and just play goalie instead of worrying about everything, Spencer Martin was really good. And he was good last night. Obviously, you pick up a shutout. You have a good game. Perfect game as a goaltender. But even he talked about it after. Yeah, the defense was incredible in front of them. But I look at this as, yeah, they're maybe not developing the young guy with the priority here, but they're developing a backup goaltender in Spencer Martin. That's the way they're looking at it. So no matter the case, you are developing. You're just developing an older guy in this situation. That's what it kind of feels like with Spencer Martin. I still think he's the front runner. I'll say it probably all offseason long. I think he's the front runner to be the backup for Thatcher Demko next year, because he didn't really get to see what that role was like last year. This past season, he was not a typical backup to a star goaltender. Like I think the situation they want it to play out as with Thatcher Demko there. They'll be curious to see him get another go next year and what they do, because this still could be addressed in the offseason. They still could address this with a little bit more of like a veteran guy who's been around. I understand that, but I just don't think they have the money to be able to spend there. It's not a spot they can spend any money on. Spencer Martin doesn't cost a lot of money, so that's why I think he's going to be their backup, and they're going to try and get this last little bit here, this AHL playoffs, to let him ride. But I also don't think Spencer Martin is your guy from game 1 to the Calder Cup final. If he slips at all, that net is going to Artur Silovs, your team MVP. You are very content if you have to go to a goaltender that it's going to be Artur Silovs, because Spencer Martin, he took a big hit last night in that game too. He got run over in the crease at one point. I think I was looking at it like, wow, this is quite the storyline if Silovs has to come in this way. But it's also quite the storyline if Martin doesn't play well, Silovs comes in and he steals the show, because that's a very possible outcome as well. So a lot of talking points just in the crease for the Abbotsford Canucks right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to get into it too much, but I've always been someone that when it comes to changing up your goaltender in the playoffs, I don't like that. I don't really like switching, especially, with Martin, it'd be a champagne problem is kind of the way you're talking about it, right? Where if he slips up at all, you can go to Silovs. I don't know how I feel about that. I got to be honest. And hey, I'm the biggest fan of the Artie party, right? Like I love a good Artie party, but switching up goaltenders in the playoffs, the deeper in the playoffs you get, the riskier I think that becomes. If they give, and it's hard because he just got a shutout, right? But if they give Silovs the start tomorrow, I wouldn't really be surprised. Like, would you? Would you be surprised to see them go right back to Silovs? Also, Brandon Astle, who said his name about 9 times on the broadcast last night with a distinct T sound in there. Brandon Astle, unlike how you say it, Brandon Astle a few times I think mentioned that they might be switching back, and he wouldn't be surprised to see it either.
Brandon Astle, he's on the show tomorrow. He's coming on tomorrow with me and Harm. I don't know what you're talking about. He's does a really good job over there. And I heard was the play-by-play was on 650 last night, I heard. Good for them. Jeez. Good for 650. Pick that up. Jeez. That can't be that hard. Excuse me. Good for them. All right, we're going to be joined by Elias Pettersson in just a moment here. But first, one more thing I want to get to from that game, and you asked the question there. I would now, and it's a crazy situation with the goaltending, I would be more surprised now to see them go back to Seelovs. Like at this point, I'd be more surprised if they went back to him on Friday. I think they're going with Spencer Martin, especially off of a shutout, like you said. Like I would be more surprised than I was seeing Spencer come out yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. I think we could see it. I wouldn't be surprised, but also goalie just gets a shutout. Wouldn't be surprised to see Martin either. So I don't think there's anything that they could do with the goaltending that would make you go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that they just did that. This is unbelievable." So we're both going out. We'll be there. I'll be there with you. I think
Yep.
on Friday. But for now, let's get to it. Brought to you by Zephyr Epic. Elias Pettersson, very pleased to be joined now by the newly signed Vancouver Canucks prospect. Elias, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good and really glad and happy about the contract. So excited.
Just got to ask. I mean, does it feel like a dream come true when you're signing that contract to an NHL team? That must be a pretty awesome feeling for you.
Yeah. When my agent told me that Vancouver has gave us an offer, I was a little bit shocked and just so happy.
Well, I want to ask about this season because a lot of us saw you go into the SHL and we were shocked with some of the minutes you were playing. You had a lot of minutes in the SHL. Talk us through how the season went from start to finish. It looked like you had to earn ice time, and you did a good job when you got that ice time.
Yeah, it was a pretty slow start from my side. I didn't play as much as I wanted. I was the 17th man in the first 10 games, and then before the Junior World Championship, I get like 15 games where I played like between 10 and 15 minutes per game. So that was some huge game for me. It boosted my confidence, and yeah, I take that games with me for the next season and trying to build from what my confidence were in those games and trying to do that next season. So yeah.
And you were obviously a big part of that World Juniors team. What do you attribute your success to the most this season?
I think my hard work every day, trying to give 100% every day and trying to be as focused as much when I'm in the arena and every game and every training. So yeah.
Now, Elias, you got a chance to play at the World Juniors. You mentioned it. You're going to get a chance to play again next year. How excited are you for that? I mean, now that you've seen what it's like, I'm sure you're excited to get back and be a year older now at that tournament.
Yeah, I'm really excited. If Magnus won't have me on the team, I think we will have a really good team in this tournament. So I'm really excited.
And you talked about working on your game and your work ethic. From what we've seen, you like to be a pretty tough guy. You like to throw the hits around a little bit. How much do you enjoy being physical in the game of hockey?
I think that is one of my biggest strengths. As I said to you before, I'm not searching for the hits, but when they come, I'm trying to be as tough as I can, and yeah, trying to play as physical as much as I can.
And I'm sure you can do that in the J20 league, but when you get to the SHL, you're facing men. What do you think? Like, what is it like when a 35-year-old guy is getting crushed by an 18-year-old?
Yeah, I think it's a big difference between the G20 and the SHL, but the coaches said to me that is what I need to bring when I'm playing, and that is what I can do out there to help the team, trying to be as physical as I can and trying to help the team in that way.
Elias, what's the plan for you next year? Do you know where you're going to play? And also, are you goal oriented at all? Like, do you have any goals? Like, do you want to play AHL games at some point next year? What's your goal for next year?
Oh, I'm going to stay here in Örebro in the SHL and trying to make it into the top 6 defensemen here and trying to trying to be a defenseman that plays every game, trying to be on the team every game, and be a guy that doesn't play like 2 minutes every game, and trying to fight for the top 6 spot.
I guess as you're making that fight for a top 6 spot, you got to watch the playoffs. You didn't play a ton over these playoffs here, but how much did you learn from just the experience of the playoffs?
I learned really much. I had a good conversation with the coach too, and he said to me that it's good to look sometime, even though I didn't play as much. So he said to me that I needed to look really much how they're acting out there, the big boys.
I have to imagine that kind of since you got drafted, it's been a crazy year. You flew to Vancouver, you're back in the SHL, you were back here for the World Juniors. We saw you and Jonathan Lekaramaki both go through similar things. Seemed like you had a pretty smooth sailing the whole way. Looking back at the last year, how much fun has the last year been for you? Is it the best year of your life?
Yeah, I think so. It must be the first. It was, yeah, I think it's my best year so far.
And I guess just traveling to the World Juniors and stuff, coming here to Canada, that was exciting. But this year, back in Sweden, how much fun is that going to be that you can have friends and family come watch? I have to think that Sweden probably wants to go for gold at the World Juniors this year.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be a really fun tournament with the family and grandma, grandpa that didn't watch so many games. So yeah, I think it will be really fun.
Elias, who are some of your favorite players to watch in the NHL right now? Who are some guys that you watch and you're thinking, wow, it's just fun to watch this guy play?
I think I haven't watched so many games because I'm sleeping when the games are, but I really like Erik Karlsson. I think he has had a hell of a season, and yeah, he's so good.
And you've worked with Mikael Samuelsson out there in Sweden. What's it like to have an NHL guy like that to help you with your development?
Hey, it's really good. We talk really much. He's in the arena and watching the games, and we talk after the games and how I feel and what he can bring to me that I can develop. And yeah, he's a really good guy to have around me.
And I asked you this when we spoke a couple months ago, but we got to do it here on the show. Lots of nicknames for you. You're the second Elias Pettersson in the Canucks organization. EP2, D-Petey, Repeaty. What's your favorite nickname that you've seen out there?
I think D-Petey is the best.
Hey, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess like the moment we've talked about this, it's kind of fun to have the same name. And I think you joked about it at the draft when you were drafted that that Elias Pettersson is your favorite NHL player. So he was cheering for you at the World Juniors, which was good news as well. And I'm sure he'll be doing it for you again this year with Sweden. So we're excited to see what you do at development camp this year. You got a big SHL season coming up in World Juniors. Elias, we wish you lots of good luck for this next year. You got a big year ahead of you. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. There he is. Elias Pettersson, left shot defenseman from Örebro, playing for them in the SHL. And like I said, hey, that World Juniors off in Sweden this year with, Lekaramaki coming back, with Pettersson there coming back, Sweden's going to be a lot of fun to watch at this World Juniors. And when they host, it means a huge deal for Sweden to be able to host this World Juniors and get an opportunity to, win gold on home ice. That would be massive. So you're going to bet that Sweden team is going to come ready to play next year.
Absolutely. And apologies to anybody in the YouTube live chat. I put in there, I said, any questions for Elias? And then you had a bunch ready to go. So you just kept firing them off. I was going to do a listener question. So I want to ask you this because we were a little late when this one came in. It was a little bit too late. I'll ask you, because you've watched him a lot more than I have. Who do you see as an NHL comparable for him? Because we were going to ask him that from a few listeners, actually. But who do you see as an NHL comparable for Elias Pettersson?
I mean, it's hard to, comparables is an interesting thing that I don't really love doing. because it's like he's not going to become this guy. But comparables in my eyes is, okay, he plays a similar style to this player, right? Maybe does a lot of things different at different levels. I'm not saying he's going to be this type of player or he's going to be at this caliber of player. I don't think he will, because I think Matthias Ohlund was a very good defenseman when he was in the NHL. And you get a lot of similar vibes of he's tough, but not almost kind of like rash with it. Like he's able to kind of contain his physicality and not let it get the best of him. But he hits hard. Like he hits really hard when he hits. He's been able to get his shots kind of developed as the year's gone on. And I'll be curious to see. I really do think he will be one of these top 6 defensemen for Orebro next year. It'll be good for him to play a lot of minutes. He played a lot of minutes when he was going into the World Juniors this year. That was good to see. But the playoffs, right? I think that's going to be something that motivates him. He didn't play in the playoffs. He had a couple games with a couple of minutes, and was on the bench sometimes for the entire game. He was the 7th defenseman and didn't get a shift, so that's unfortunate. I think that's going to help him be motivated. He's going to be back here for development camp. Then he'll be back in the SHL, get his season going. Then he'll have a little break off to the World Juniors. Big year, man. Big year for Elias Pettersson. And honestly, you can say a similar thing about Jonathan Lekkerimäki, right? They're in the same boat. We'll try and get Lekkerimäki on after his Allsvenskan run. But I'll talk about him later on in the show. We'll move back to the AHL stuff. Anything else you want to add with by the way, hey, what's my favorite nickname? D-Petey. What's Elias Pettersson's favorite nickname? D-Petey. So anybody else in the comments here, EP2, EP42, Repeaty? It's out the window now. D-Petey all the way.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to say is I really do like the idea of getting listener questions as well. We got to take advantage of the fact that we have the live chat here. I think no, it's okay. I'm just saying for next time, we have a lot of regular listeners. We have a lot of people that just listen on the podcast. Come to the live show, folks. If we have a guest and we have a guest, get your questions in beforehand. Like we'll start doing that. We'll start asking listener questions instead of just teasing it like we did today. Okay, you got something.
Tomorrow, Brandon Assel on the show tomorrow. There we go. Play-by-play voice of the Abbotsford Canucks. He's joining Harm and I tomorrow, 1:15. Get your questions in there.
Okay.
Hey, I'll go back to it.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's get back to it. I want to show some of the goals. Let's just roll through them. We'll start here with the Nils Hoglander goal off the top. I tell you what, he was dominant. He scored the first goal of the AHL playoffs for the Abbotsford Canucks on home ice. Hoglander, you saw this last night, Quads, the best player on the ice. And as we can see on this one here, chips it past, uses his speed plus his skill, then a little bit of physicality at the end as he pushes a guy off of him. And here's the most important thing of the whole goal. Drives to the net on the goal, and that is something you need to see from Nils Hoglander. If he's going to be successful at the next level, he's got to be able to drive to the net, and that's what he did to close out on this goal here, and he lit things off. What do you think about Hoglander last night?
You think Rick Tocchet liked that performance, Chris? You've got all the NHL staff. Exactly. You've got all the NHL staff in person watching you. What a performance. What an impression that Nils Hoglander must have left on them. And folks, if you haven't seen the goal that's flashing on the screen right now, and obviously I'm talking to the podcast listeners, go watch it. Like, go find this Nils Hoglander goal. It's in the Canucks Army recap that Cody Sievertson did for us. You can find this goal. You should watch it. Like you said, Chris, chips the puck pass and then has the physicality and stays on a line to the net. Now, this goal was given to Max Sasson, who had a 2-goal performance, it looked like, but it was later attributed once again to Hoglander. And you like to see him rewarded for his hard work. Obviously, look, this is a guy that didn't think he was going to be in the AHL, and he's really run with the opportunity that he's gotten down there. And look, you hope that he's becoming that complete player that the Canucks really need him to be, right? Like, look, we talk about north-south so much. There's a north-south goal, the one he just scored, right? And that's what I mean with the coaching staff in there and Rick Tocchet getting to see that. That's a really good impression. I thought Nils Hoglander played a really solid 200-foot game. And like I said, I haven't watched every Abbotsford game. I didn't really know how he's progressing. I don't know if it's as dramatic as this, but Nils Hoglander does look like a different player than the one I saw. Even that goal, the way he follows it up himself and goes to the net, you wouldn't really see that before. Like under Travis, under Bruce, right? You just didn't really see that from Hoglander. It was kind of I'm not trying to call him soft or anything, but it was kind of I don't want to use the word puck watching because it's the wrong term, but you know what I mean?
Out on the inside, yeah.
Yeah, he would get the puck into the slot, but then he would be nowhere near the slot after that, right? He isn't following pucks up the way he was there. He isn't initiating contact to try to create plays in the offensive zone. You just didn't see that before from Nils Hoglander. So I was very impressed with him last night. His 200-foot game, everything. Very impressed with Nils Hoglander last night.
Yeah, they were the best line on the ice. Nils Hoglander was the best player on the ice. But like I mentioned, that line was very good. Let's get to this Max Sasson goal, which was started by a tremendous saucer pass from Nils Hoglander. First things first, Christian Wolanin ends up wheeling behind his own net, gets up ice, and then you see a great play from Max Sasson here to keep the puck in the offensive zone as he has to pretty much dive back here for the puck, push it back to this guy. They move it around, and the beautiful passing play from Hoglander saucers it across the ice to Kyle Rao, who puts it right back to the other side of the ice again. And Max Sasson said he didn't even look. He just fired that thing right into the back of the net. And he was cut up pretty good yesterday early on in the game and bounced back, had a great game. That line was excellent. They were the best one for Abbotsford last night. And I'll tell you what, just Bakersfield just couldn't keep up. It felt like the rest of this game, the lines were pretty matched. They were pretty even, and it was kind of a stalemate. Then this line came through, and they won. They won big time on every single shift that they were on the ice for. I did want to bring something up before we get to the Rathbun goal, because a lot of the guys that I talk about a lot of and give a lot of praise to on this show for their good play, 3 of them didn't show up last night. Okay? Arshdeep Bains, how much have I said positive about him throughout the season? I think he's been excellent this year. That might have been probably one of his bottom 3 games of the year. Arshdeep Bains, I didn't notice him at all last night. Same thing with Atu Ratu and Danila Klimovic. I didn't think either of them had great games from what their potential can bring. Like, I didn't think they were bad. I didn't think they were very bad. I just felt like they were stuck in a stalemate with the lines that they were playing up against. And that's playoff hockey. You kind of need to emerge your game and evolve it to a next level to be able to win those matchups. And that's a line that's playing together. That Bains, Ratu, Klimovic line, that's a line I'm excited about. I like when they come over the boards. I want to see them succeed. Didn't really have it last night. So I'm curious if they go away from that line or if they stick with it, because I would like to see it stick together. I'd like to see that line get another go, because Bains is one of the better playmakers on this team. You want to see Ratu and Klimovic get the opportunity to finish. Bains is a perfect winger for that. I hope they don't go away from that line just because they had a down night. I thought Klimovic's two-way game was fine. Like, I think it was good, actually. It was one of his better games for forechecking and being in the right spot and just kind of fitting into the structure of the team. Didn't really do well in his strengths, though. He didn't walk anybody at the blue line, didn't really get any shots off. I thought it was a quieter game for that line, but that's a line I want to see more of tonight. Did you see the same? Like, you hear me talk about these 3 a lot and say a lot of positive things. I don't know if you can say a ton of positivity about them last night.
They were definitely not a trio that were on my radar, right? Like, I wasn't going to really bring them up, to be honest with you, but someone in the chat said, Jesse Town said, what about a Ratty, Bains, and Podkolzin line? I really like that. Look, we're not expecting Podkolzin in this series, but I really like that idea. And look, that's not a knock on Klimovic. Like you said, 200-foot game, looked fine last night. Like, he looked completely fine to me, and I know the improvements and the strides he's taken this year. Klimovic looked absolutely fine. I know we're not expecting Podkolzin in this series, but you wonder if they're going to go away from the line and what it's going to look like when they do. Also, quickly, want to get this in. Vasily Podkolzin is going to be a dad. They're expecting him and his wife, Sasha, are expecting a child. So congrats to the Podkolzins. Do we have an update? Do you know when he's coming back? Like, do you have any idea when he's going to be recovered and back in the lineup?
He is no longer week to week, I'm told. He is day to day. For Podkolzin, they still got to send him down just as like a paper thing. They can get him right into the lineup at that point. I want to get to a couple comments here. Canucks Need Right Handy says, I love Klim. He hits too. He's not scared. Yeah, hey, physicality is there with Klimovic for sure. And Karan says, think this management can build a good farm system, but that's the first step. Maybe I didn't read that right. You got to retype that. But either way, yeah, farm system was good. There was a lot of support out there yesterday for the team. I thought they were good. Let's get to this last goal here. Friend of the show, Jack Rathbun. Good kid. Yeah, he set up Max Sasson early on in the game to get absolutely crushed and have a bloody nose, but he said he's buying him dinner for it. That's a good hockey trade-off. Jack Rathbun scored on the power play last night. He ended up so they're playing 2 defensemen on the first power play. Christian Wolanin, you can't really not play Wolanin on your power play, and he was the leading scorer for defensemen this year. Jack Rathbun playing on the right half wall, a spot that he very much enjoys when I asked him about in post-game. Loves it over there, and we can normally see the slap shot, the one-timer. He's just saying he's got to hit the net. And maybe he was thinking about that on this goal because he fires a wrist shot from the right half wall to score his first goal of the playoffs. And nice to see him get going early because if he can find something, he might be able to impress some of those guys that are making the trip from Vancouver to Abbotsford as well and be able to find him some NHL minutes next season. Because I don't think he's in a point right now where he's shown enough to deserve a lot of NHL minutes with this Canucks team next year.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a strong game for him too. And obviously, you brought up the little suicide pass there to Big Game Max, as Jack called him post game. I don't know if you had a clip of that, so my apologies if I stole your thunder there. But Big Game Max, Rathbun referred to Max Sasson after that game. But you brought it up, yeah. There was the little bit of a suicide pass to Sasson, and Rathbun was quick to jump to his defense when he got laid out. But it was a tough look for Jack for sure to make that pass. That was
because Jack goes in there to stick up for his teammate, but you could tell he went in there, he ain't fighting anybody. He went in there and then he looked for Brady Keeper, who was just about on his way in there. But good for Jack stepping up. I wanted to say this as we transition here to playoffs on the ticker down there. Man, the atmosphere was incredible. Okay, the atmosphere in Abbotsford last night was incredible. It was so nice to watch playoff atmosphere live. I had such a good time watching this playoff atmosphere live, and nice touch from the Abbotsford Canucks, the towels. They put the towels on every seat, and I tell you, watch a video like this. I'm sorry for the people on podcasts. You're going to have to check this out on my Twitter or come back to the YouTube here. We're just showing a video of towels going nuts, song in the background, Holiday is the goal song. But I tell you, man, I really missed the playoff atmosphere, and it was nice to see it in person. I was very happy about that. And it brought me to just thinking about the Vancouver Canucks. And I thought, man, these type of moments, this is what Vancouver Canucks fans deserve. You can cut this thing out. Let's get this thing out here. I'm cutting into my talking here. But you need this from the Vancouver Canucks. The fan base deserves this. The fan base out there in Abbotsford is getting the opportunity to get this right now, which is awesome. And they showed extremely well. The towels going on every goal. It was a pretty boring first period, like you mentioned there. It wasn't that fun, but it was a great scene there in Abbotsford by the end of it. So that was great. And I did want to say, just experiencing playoff hockey in person, it got me thinking about the Vancouver Canucks, obviously. And then I saw this quote from Connor McDavid last night. Can we get this up, Alex? What's going on here? Okay, it's still banging off in the background there. Connor McDavid talking about the playoff atmosphere. And it just got me thinking, man, I cannot wait for Elias Pettersson or Quinn Hughes to be the guy being asked these type of questions when this team gets good one day. Because I thought that you can really hear just the love from a player for the city when things are going well. This can happen in Vancouver. This can happen for the Vancouver Canucks one day. But let's hear from Connor McDavid. I just thought he made a great job of talking what the playoff atmosphere is like for not just a team or inside the rink, but for the entire city when you get behind a team.
You reward the fans tonight. Edmonton's alive when the Oilers win. Take a look at this shot. This is from the Moss Pit tonight. Place is jam-packed. This will give you an idea of what the atmosphere is like outside the rink. What's your assessment of the atmosphere in Edmonton right now?
It's special. We've had a few little runs here, and every time we're in the playoffs, it's always fun to be around the city. And obviously, the games are amazing, and the atmosphere makes it fun and difficult for the other team, which is obviously what we like. So we head out on the road and make them proud on the road.
Thank you, Connor. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
So it's like I was saying, it was just, if you have a chance to get to Abbotsford, get yourself out there for a playoff game, you are going to feel, listen, it's the minor league version of it, but you're going to feel that playoff atmosphere. It was awesome out there in Abbotsford last night. I had a great time, and I know you'll have a good time on Friday, Quads. You're going to pick up Lully's dog. You're going to be laughing. By the way, let's wrap a couple of talking points from the playoffs here. The Oilers win. They won big third period from them. They won 4-2 in that game, heading back to LA with a split. Anything to mention there, Quads? You're in, you're in the same top of the building there with all the Oily boys. You guys in your group chats that I'm not allowed into, the top dogs from Nation Network. Me and Alex, we got our own group chat, just me and him. It's not really a group chat, but you guys, you're with the Oilers, folks. What's going on over here? Back to LA with a split.
Well, I mean, you look at we've watched this series, right? Like the Oilers have been dominant in I'd say like 5 of the 6 periods they've played, right? Maybe 4 of 6. Let's go with that. I think they're going to win the series. Like I think that's all it comes down to is the Oilers are going to win this series. It feels like LA is playing not to get scored on, which is kind of their style, the defense first kind of style of play. Whereas the Oilers are just, like the Oilers are going to win this series. I think I thought that at the start. I loved the hiccup in game 1. It was very funny to go into, as you said yesterday, our Tuesday morning meeting, and all of our coworkers looked like they just got back from a funeral. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I think the Oilers are going to take this series. The other one, Boston, Florida. I gotta say, watching Boston lose while you're hearing John Shorthouse and John Garrett do a phenomenal job on the call together. This is your last chance to listen to that duo, Canucks fans. I know it sucks. You got to watch the Boston Bruins, but hey, you got to see the Bruins lose yesterday. So it's always a good day when the Boston Bruins lose.
I'll take that. And earlier on in the show, you mentioned you don't like goalie tandems for the playoffs. Neither do the Minnesota Wild, because that did not work out well for them going back from Gustafsson to Fleury last night. They lost 7-3 to Dallas. So that series is all tied up at 1. And what do we got today? We got Toronto and Tampa. That's the big one, right? We're all watching that. That's the one for tonight, I guess. So yeah, we'll continue to chat about that. Harm and I will be back tomorrow. We'll talk about a few things in the NHL playoffs, but probably spend more time about the Vancouver Canucks. We haven't got Harm's thoughts yet on the end of season availability and this AHL playoff stuff. So it'll be a fun episode with Harm. Let's get to a couple odds and ends. Jonathan LeCaire-Mackey not playing today. They had like an extra day off here in the final, so they're going to play on Friday. I'll recap that game with Harm tomorrow. It should just be wrapping up about the time we're about to go live, so I might have to be at the last second for some clips. We'll see what happens. But LeCaire-Mackey playing tomorrow in his series, tied 1-1 in the Allsvenskan final. So we'll follow that and a couple of world championships here from Rick Dhaliwal. Some updates. Ethan Bear to play for Canada at the World Championships, and Connor Garland to play for USA at the World Championships. You already brought up the Jason King thing. We'll see. We'll see where he goes. Probably the NCAA, but we'll see where he goes.
Just a thought you had. Just a random thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of schools in the NCAA that would love a coach like Jason King. Maybe even like one that he like went to and played at. I bet they would love him there.
Okay. We'll wrap it up there. Anyways, yeah, we'll talk to you tomorrow, folks. I don't even know how to transition off of that.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say. All I'm saying is I bet that they would love him. I bet they would love to have him back.
I bet they would.
I bet they have an opening too. That would be crazy. Imagine that.
Okay, enough. We're done. We're done with this. All right. For my co-host Chris Faber and our technical producer Alex Allard, my name is David Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Yeah, Major Eagle, Alex. Thank you. Holy cow. Stop moving that mic. Wrap it up.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?